I've said it before and I'll say it again. We're winning. We are winning the narrative battle about the proper human diet. Whether you do keto or carnivore or animal based paleo, whatever, we are winning. We're winning on the whole foods front. We are winning on the pure truth that animal proteins and animal based eating is part of or core to a proper human diet. We are winning against the plant based narrative. And I know this because not just because Beyond Meat is failing, but because of the implications. Industry insiders are now worried, saying that they thought that they were going to dominate the market in just a few years, but now they're admitting that it's going to take a quarter to half a century for them to dominate the market. And here's the thing, in economics, politics, anything, projecting that far out is worthless. You may as well be trying to make your decisions based on your horoscopes or something. There is literally no projecting that far out. They know there's something wrong. They know that the market has essentially collapsed for them. The consumption of plant-based meat alternatives has reversed. People no longer want the products. Why is that? Because one, most of them don't taste like meat. Two, they don't provide as good a source of protein as animal products do. And three, people are getting wise to seed oils and processed foods. And while a big segment of the population will never want to, abandon processed foods and seed oils, a growing number of people are, typically health conscious people. And that's who these products were marketed to, the health conscious. So we're winning, folks. I've got an interesting story for you today that details exactly how we're winning. So, headline from the New York Times. This is not, Veg News or some vegan outlet. This is the New York Times, the paper of record, the Gray Lady. So, headline, Beyond Meat is struggling and the plant-based meat industry worries. A few years ago, business was booming. That growth has slowed, with some wondering if the number of consumers has reached its limit. I think it has, and there's a number of reasons for it. One is the economy. But two, the carnivore diet and keto are growing in popularity. They just are. And people are getting, because of social media and other things, they're getting alternative voices and alternative viewpoints, and they're getting other facts. And guess what? It's turning out that animal products are actually good for you. We've known this for a long time. And when people have that information, they tend to make better choices for themselves. How many of you watching this used to be plant-based? Or were open to plant-based meat alternatives as part of your regular consumption? I used to be open to it years and years ago. I still remember what those fake chicken nuggets by Morningstar Farms used to taste like. I don't know if they even sell them anymore. They actually didn't taste too bad back then. The taste buds are a bit different now, and I bet they'd hate them now. And I suspect a lot of people are in that place too, where they've tried these things and they're just not meeting their needs. Let's take a look at this article a little bit. Here's a quote that gives away everything. Quote from the article. What investors and others are debating now is whether Beyond Meat struggles are specific to the company or a harbinger of deeper issues in the plant-based meat industry. At the category level, we're seeing volumes for plant-based meats down 22 consecutive months now, said John Baumgartner, a consumer food analyst at the financial institute Mizuho Americas. A few years ago, investors expected the category to explode with growth year after year, Mr. Baumgartner said. Now he said those expectations are being reconsidered. We're positive on the future for plant-based meat, but this is a 20 to 25-year story, he said. It's not going to happen in 3 to 5 to 10 years, end quote. And the man has become an economic fortune teller, essentially, with that. 25 years, we have no idea what the conditions in the world are going to be in 25 years. We have no idea what people are going to need, what the cultural shifts are going to be. Nothing. Economic forecasting is already really tricky. That far out, good luck. He's trying to remain optimistic for the investors and for the general public, trying to put a happy face on, trying to put a positive spin on things. But you know as well as I do that 25 years from now, we're talking basically the year 2048, that they're looking at this. Are there reasons for them to believe that? Sure. Younger people, Generation Z, tend to be more open to plant-based meats than the rest of us are. But who knows what their attitudes will be like in 25 years and what the attitudes of the generation that is behind them are, or the generation that's being born right now or will be born 2 years from now. Look, in 25 years, there will be people who haven't been born yet who will be participating in the political process and will be out there as that, participating in the economy. We have no idea what their attitudes are going to be about this stuff. So good luck to them. And now they make a good point here about addressing the part of this is probably from the downturn in the economy. Okay, that's good that they're admitting that. But also, they need to acknowledge that there is a problem here and that most people don't like this stuff. None of them taste like beef except maybe the Impossible Burger. From what I've heard, the Impossible Burger comes the closest to tasting like beef. I heard that from somebody who is not a health conscious person who was given one once, and it took them a while to realize it wasn't beef. Anyway, so from the article, quote, some say the slowdown in sales is a product of food inflation as consumers trade pricier plant-based meat for less expensive animal meat. But others wonder if the companies have simply reached the maximum number of consumers willing to try or repeatedly purchase faux burgers and sausages. Analysts at Deloitte, who conducted a survey of consumers this year, questioned whether the 53% who are not buying plant-based meats could be turned into customers. The category has been growing at double-digit for a long time and was expected to continue. But what we saw this year is that the number of consumers who are buying it did not increase, said Justin Cook, the U.S. consumer products research leader at Deloitte. While inflation played a role, so did a decline in the perception that plant-based meats are healthier than animal proteins. The companies focus on environmental benefits. But the Deloitte analyst said another problem might be resistance to a product that some segments of the customers see as ideological and linked to politically left-leaning ideas. In August, when the Cracker Barrel restaurant chain stated on its Facebook page that it had begun offering the meatless Impossible sausage, the post was flooded with thousands of comments from irate customers. They responded with political slogans, from the other side, and then just said, "You just lost a ton of your base. You obviously don't know your patrons." End quote. People don't want to be forced to eat this stuff, and that's kind of one of the things that I've been finding so amusing watching this, is that the fast food chains are putting this on their menu, and while you are free to buy it or not, technically speaking, no one's forcing you to walk into Cracker Barrel, no one's forcing you to order the Impossible sausage, people still feel like by simply going to these places and having it on the menu, they're being forced to try it. It's like they're being pressured. It's really kind of funny because people weirdly identify with fast food chains. And in a weird way, I kind of do it too, because I've been doing keto for years, trying to find a way to keep it sustainable. That's why I went carnivore. It's the easiest version. And my wife and I sort of identify with Buffalo Wild Wings in a weird way, because it was a restaurant that when we were dating before we got married, being on keto, I could eat there easily. It wasn't hard. She likes chicken wings. It works. I'm not supremely loyal to them. It works for the diet that I'm on. But people do start identifying with these restaurants. They do it in a very real way. It's strange. And Cracker Barrel has a core group of people who really, really identify the same way that Olive Garden kind of does, and a few others. And when you go in there and you see that menu items have been replaced, or just even less bad than that, just new items that are plant-based, and the customer bases tend to swing a political way that is opposed to that, you might start seeing more and more pushback. It's probably why you saw this stuff fail. The only restaurant I expect to see this stuff work at is probably Taco Bell, because everybody who eats at Taco Bell knows the meat they're eating is so low grade that replacing it with plant-based might not be noticeable, right? But that's what we're seeing here. The market's rejecting this stuff, and the industry's worried, and they're trying to put a happy face, a spin on things, to say, well, a quarter century from now, well, who knows what the world will be like in 2048. What do you think about this story? Do you think their optimism is misplaced? Do you think our optimism is misplaced? I think we're winning, notwithstanding the people with entirely too much power and too much money who are trying to tip the scales in their direction using policy and economic manipulation to make these things happen. I think we're winning. But I could be wrong about that, so let me know what you think of this in the comments, please. And like and subscribe if you haven't. It really does help, as does sharing this on social media. That helps a lot as well. I'm Anthony Stine, Practical Carnivore. Thanks for tuning in.